Top of the morning to you. McChristopher Courtney here, New Pragmatic. If you can't make fun of yourself, who can make fun of? I got this mailer from Tracksmith in the mail, and they added an M to my name, so I'm McChristopher. This would be great if it was like St. Patrick's Day, but it's Thanksgiving, so it feels a little oddly timed. I think it's a mistake, but I have a new name, everybody. McChristopher Courtney. I will go get a McGriddle from McDonald's or something. Happy Thanksgiving Eve to those of you joining me from the continental United States. I just realized that I was in the multiverse view for a second. I had to get back into the singular view for a moment. Had a great Monday. Met with so many of you, people making big strides, and it's really fantastic to see so many of you really turning the screws on getting your work online. Shane and Melanie making big strides forward. We have a James sighting. James, welcome to the fold, man. Good to see you. Fonzo's ready to jump in here. I had a great call with Fonzo. Rebecca's always out there grinding, and so many of those familiar faces have already submitted work for today's feedback loop, and I'm looking forward to, if I didn't mention your name, also Eve. Eve had a great call with Eve. Looking forward to talking with Rebecca and Luigi today. So many people, everybody like cramming in here to the first week, and that's great. It tells me that you're trying to push hard before the holiday turducken kicks in. So with that, let's go ahead and jump on in. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I did want to give a little programming note. We'll come back to that in a second. A little programming note. If you've been following along, you'll notice that there's been a trickle of content floating out there. I'm constantly editing and writing and recording. When I'm not doing this and when we're not circling back around and doing the individual meetings, I'm releasing new material. And in the wireframes chapter, you'll now notice at the bottom, actually, if I could just refresh this, refresh, yeah, Figma with wireframing. I'm starting to layer in the videos where they weren't really layered in previously, like they were in spots, but we've got a lot more videos now. So you're going to be seeing more and more of these videos. I struggle with where to properly place them, but if they are related to the exercise, you're going to find these in the exercise portion. So there's affinity mapping, and there's user flows, and there's story mapping, and user stories, and like there's all sorts of videos that are in the hopper ready to be edited. It's going to be a busy holiday season, so just know that as you're going through, if you get into the exercise section, and I've deemed it an area where you probably need further assistance, it's not just explaining the concept of what it is that you're trying to tackle. There's going to be videos that are rolling along through that, so just be on the lookout for that. I'm super excited to be able to get these things packaged up and in, and be on the lookout for a lot of new snackable sized videos. I've gotten feedback from you that you like the in-depth looks, like this wireframing with Figma. I dive directly in and we bake out an entire page, but sometimes you just want to know, like, how do I do that one trick? So I'm going to be making a lot of shorter 2 to 5 minute videos through the month of December, and we'll see just how many of those I can get churned out and snuck underneath your Christmas trees, or with your menorahs, or all the however you pray or not pray. I'm just trying to get gifts to you. So let me just get some gifts to you. Not gifts, but gifts with a T and an S. Anyway, let's move on. We've got Holy crap, we've got competitive research. James Morgan is in the house. Last edit made 16 minutes ago. So James, man, I'm excited. I'm pumped up. James, for those of you that do not know James, hailing from the great state of Seattle, because I always try to do that. It's a Laverne and Shirley. It's a Laverne and Shirley. Squiggy. It's actually a Squiggy joke from Laverne and Shirley. But now I want to point out that show came out before I was really conscious. Like I was too young to really know it, but I caught the joke later. Squiggy from the great state of Milwaukee. Anyway, so James, you're jumping in here, and I'm going to come in and give you some detailed feedback on your competitive research. But you've clearly broken down. I guess QFC. I've got to go look because I'm not familiar with QFC. QFC has got to be a Seattle sort of thing because this is something I've never seen before. I'm always interested in seeing stores and the way things are presented in other areas. Well, actually, one of my favorite things to do, and probably one of the reasons why I really put a focus on grocery and food for this project, but is the fact that every time I travel, I go into a foreign grocery store to try to see what it's like to like live there, like legit, like you live there. So if I'm in Mumbai, you can bet that I went to a grocery store just as easily as if I was in one of the funnest experiences was going into a Chinese grocery store in Dongguan. And like, I mean, there was everything in that store. Crickets, live, like giant live fish. You just don't see giant live fish at a grocery store here in the States. I mean, you might see fish, but not like swimming around generally. Anyway, so you've got you've done your analysis on Safeway, QFC, Amazon Fresh, Walmart Grocery, Heb. Okay, and I've seen other people like check out Heb before, so I'm familiar with some of the items there. You did heuristics testing on QFC, Amazon Fresh, and Walmart Grocery. Again, I'm going to come back through and look at these specifically to give you feedback. It is nice to see that like you've picked up on the messaging. You've picked up on the cost variables and comparing the differences between them. I would encourage you to typically when I see this, I either see everybody going for only food delivery platforms like Grubhubs and things like that, or I see people only going for grocery stores and like the Safeways and the Amazon Fresh and whatnot. And the thing that I would encourage you to do, Amazon Fresh is like a tweener, but this is really the Whole Foods play, because this is 2-hour delivery for orders more than $35. This is Whole Foods pickup available at Amazon lockers. That's always weird. It's like, what if I ordered milk and you put it in a locker and is it refrigerated? I have no idea. My worry here is that you're focused a little too heavily on grocery store, and what you're going to come up with in this, or what you're going to be more inspired to do is to come up with a solution that is specific to a grocery store. And I think you've got to look at the full range. So I would encourage you to add one more to the mix that is specifically a meal service, because again, this is the prompt here is a grocery store chain is trying to come up with a meal delivery service so that they can take advantage of the fact that they have all these physical locations and all these kitchens. It's what a deli is. It's a kitchen. They've got these kitchens already built. They've also another key point, and people forget about this, is you have to get these things licensed. And that's one of the reasons why grocery stores are so uniquely well set up. It's like a warehouse. If you think about a grocery store, it's like a warehouse that has a kitchen in the middle of it. That's a great setup if you're wanting to do anything with meal delivery, because it's like you have all the ingredients that you need right at hand, and you have a kitchen like go. Um, and actually, one of the one of the companies that operates in this area, they actually have like a high end kitchen. You can get like giant like restaurant quality steaks and whatnot delivered, but they don't have the delivery part figured out. You like you have to go through like an Instacart or something, and they figure it out. So it's not you have to think about it. It's not something that that the grocery store has sorted out yet. And then Gobble here, like Gobble, you can see they're expanding because they started out as dinner, and then what is this? Lunch right there. I think Gobble is something to look at. They are very interesting. Also, Foodsby. Foodsby is New York based, so you being in Seattle, I wouldn't expect you to know about Foodsby, but they definitely are something to. That's weird. My cursor's like stuck there, but then I'm moving around. Anyway, so Foodsby is an interesting play as well. Yeah, sorry, I just saw somebody pop in there for a second. Um, and then finally, Home Chef. Home Chef is a local Chicago-based company that was purchased by Kroger, and it's one of these merger things. So you had the online company that is doing the meal delivery purchased by a traditional big box retailer, and they're trying to merge those two worlds together. Home Chef was one of the companies that inspired this because, hell, company comes out of nowhere and 3 years later sold for $80 million. There's clearly heat in this market, so I'm going to close those. But James, I would encourage you to add one of those, not all three. Just pick one, add that to your mix, and have that in your set of comparisons. I think heuristics. Really, when you get into heuristics, I'm looking for you to get a better sense of what are the table stakes here. When I'm using a website, if you've never gone through and done heuristics before, it's about really setting yourself up to look at a site critically, and you're comparing these things to understand what it's like to be a user, and to really want to use a service. How much effort are they having to put out there? How many things are they having to work around just to utilize a particular website or service? It's really important that really comes down to friction. How much friction and how much is the amount of effort that I need to put out greater than the benefit I receive from the company? That essentially is what it is. And you can all think of something that eventually ended up being more not worth the effort. It's I'm not getting enough out of this. It's taking too much effort to do this. You can all think of situations like that. The question is, and the winner typically in these sorts of things is, who has the better service? What do I get back? For the effort that I expend. If I expend very little effort and I get a lot back, that's the winner. All right. So moving on, James. So just a little tweak there, and I'll give you some more specific feedback after the call. Shane Williams is back, and let's go ahead and hop into VS Code, because he has. Let's see here. He's trying to figure out the order of the navigation items because float right reverses them, and that's fine. We can sort that out, Shane. Code is far from dry, but he added some stuff. You'll see what isn't aligned properly. Didn't bother with media queries on the new stuff yet. Okay, so let's go ahead and just hop into VS Code. I'm going to take a beverage break. Shane, I think that you have inside of that, there's portfolio. So I'm going to close that really quickly. Open. Yeah, I'm just going to open it this way. Oh, yeah, that's what we're looking for. And now we're in, so I wanted to just start inside of the Shane folder. So let's take a look here. So you got case study, hello neighbor. So obviously the problem here, nothing's updated yet. So I got to pull this in, get status, let's make sure that everything's clean, get pull, origin master. Again, I like doing this live on the feedback loop so that you get to see the way that this stuff updates. And that's particularly helpful if you're not familiar with coding. So if you're watching along, you're getting to see how we do it. Skip link, skip the main content. Just bumping that in. So header, this is copied over. These are all flat because there's nowhere to link those two yet. Hero. For right now on this work, I'm going to link this to case study / hello neighbor, and I'm going to copy this over to your index. Just because I want us to be able to get to it relatively easy without always having to do with the URL hacking. So I left a few notes in here. So you're going to fix the font for the hero. So you've got a subheading here. Got main ID. And then over here you've begun to bring this in, so we're looking at hero again. We've got the container, so let's go ahead and get our always familiar wrap going. Word wrap. Okay, so section text. Bump that in. Some of this is just me being fussy. There's nothing wrong with the way you have it, Shane. It's just I'm fussy. Okay, same level. This should still be, this isn't wrapping anything, so I'm going to knock that over. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so when something's not wrapping anything, I typically just knock it over. So all the these are all children level elements of this div. So when I close this up, the whole thing goes. This is this caption is a child of captions, so I can close it like that. These are double links, close it like that. Get the idea. All right, so let's go ahead and spin this up. I just kind of want to see how it's structured right now. This is a page that that Shane's been working on. Or actually, we did not work on this page together. So there's hello neighbor. It is interesting how much harder that is to read. You might want to come in with a span just to give this a color change. Let's go back to your homepage really fast. So Shane Williams, designer. Yeah, this is much nicer. I think I would probably come up with this in size, but let's go to your work. So that's hello neighbor, introduction, problem, solution. Yeah, Shane, you made a lot of progress here. Obviously, if we go back and compare this, and the great news is you got your nav styled up. You've clearly put in a lot of work through the overnight on this. Let's take a look at your Figma file. I know that okay, so it appears that you're adjusting hello neighbor to match up with your homepage now, and I think that's fine. I do think that even though this is, when we look at the homepage, this works when you have the spaces, and I know that hello neighbor technically is one word, but I would either add a space or I would add a tone so that this is a little easier to read. Keep in mind, it was up and down here, and the uppercase N made this more readable. It's something to think about as you're moving forward. All right, so the next thing I want to look at is I want to look at the internal grid shift that's occurring here, because this goes from being it's wide. It's like wide, less wide, least wide. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Yeah, right now, this comes in, and then it needs to come in one more time to make this a little more, I don't want to say legible, but it's a little wide right now for traditional reading. Additionally, I want to come in and take a look at, you've got, let's see what this is. That's enter. So let's enter at regular 20. What do you got over here? So that's enter. And font size is 2.5. I'm just going to change this for a second to 20. Same size. Okay. Or roughly same size. That's fine. You've got, but as you can see, this is easier to read than it is here. We were looking for something more like this. So this is where I would come in and, you've got this container wrapping the entire, it lines up. Obviously, that's a bit of an issue. Let's come in here to the header. Let's sort out this. So here's the hero. Is that like a percentage? Is that why it went down in size? So there's hello neighbor. Font size 5.5. Yeah, okay, so I just wouldn't make it go down yet. And we also need to, Shane, we need to talk about, like, are you going to use some sort of navigate? Are you going to thin this down? Or are you going to put it like in a hamburger? We got to sort out like what's going to happen there. This hello neighbor issue with the size, I almost wonder if instead of hello neighbor and worrying about the break, if this becomes a little easier to deal with if we simply say hello, hello neighbor redesign, save it, and we'll come over. Hello neighbor redesign. Another thing you could consider doing with this, if you decided that you wanted this to be a little different than that, is to make this, close that H1 there, make this like an H2. It's going to look a little wonky when I do this initially. But you would come back with it in an H2 slightly different size. Another way to handle this would be to keep it at H1 but wrap it in a span, and then allow that span to span class equals fade. There's a span. We're using a span class of fade. Oh, that's not going to work very well. So span class of fade. Then we come in into your style.css. Let's look for sorry, just got a message here from Shane. 2H1's logo and hero heading. I think it should be the heading, or not the logo, but the heading, Shane. So maybe change that to an 8. Shane's asking specifically about this H1 right here. I'm not going to change it, but if you could target that and say H2, that'd be great. The you know the thing that Google's interested in is not whose site it is. It can tell that pretty easily. It's interested in what's the most important information on the page, and the most important information on the page is right here. So hello neighbor redesign. That's kind of interesting. I'm wondering why. And I'm going to switch this back to 1 because it's going to break your styles if I don't. Although, actually, let's just go ahead and fix that. So that's nav H2. Let's go to style. Let's find nav H1. Let's just change that to H2. H2 visited. And now that should hold. It does. That's now an H2. This is an H1. Everybody's happy. Let's go ahead and look for hero. So there's hero H1, hero H1 span. So you have a span in hero already. I did not pick up on that, but here it is, and it's that. So although that, I know what happened. And this is where it becomes very annoying to make an update to the nav and then have to go back and make it everywhere. So now this will be fixed. That's fixed. Let's go back in. That needs to be like oh hey, there I am. Let's go back over here. We'll call this oh yeah, hero H1. Actually, I bet I can just target H1.fade. I don't necessarily know if I'll even need this, but I'm gonna take that var out for a second. I'll do that, and we'll come back over. That didn't take hero H1.fade. Yeah, okay, so that took. It might be a DA sort of thing. That's a little too subtle. I apologize if I'm giving you whiplash as I'm going back and forth. So let's try AAA. And there you go. You get a little something there. And what this allows you to do, Shane, is you can go smaller without necessarily worrying about running into the edge because it's just stair stepping down. Still, I would say that is the next thing we need to sort out what's happening there. Let's go ahead though and adjust. Let's adjust these. Let's adjust this container. So I'm gonna create a style called content container to wrap all of this in. What am I doing? Yeah. So let's come back over to your. No, let's find VS Code. How did it get all the way over here? Come on, VS Code. Do your thing. All right, so container. Let's find the containers. Okay, so there's container. And I'm going to create what I will call okay, so you've got a class of main. I'm wondering if that class of main isn't what you're using to constrain that. So let's do main dot main. Okay, so there's nothing in there. That's weird. Okay. Well, rather than main class container, I'm gonna do content container because it is the content. You're wanting to constrict it a bit more. And this is, again, per the design you had previously. We'll come in and say container. So I want these things to kind of exist together. So content container, I'm going to pick up the margin. So container, comma, content container. So I won't have to replace that. All I'm going to do is replace the width. And actually, I'm going to keep that width the same for mobile. So I don't want it to be any different on mobile. But on, and it might say the same for tablet, but when we get up here to, when we get up here to desktop, content container, I will say width 60%. Okay, so let's take a look at it. So now you've got the stair stepping in. It's stair stepping in. Now you've got this measure, and this is a lot closer to the design that you actually have, wherever it may be. There we go. So that's closer to the design that you actually have. There is a question now that we've made that adjustment of, does this want to come in? And that's really up to you. You know, I'm not stuck on it either way. But I think it's something that maybe you consider, because this is the only thing out here now, and simplification is always where I'm trying to go. The one thing I will say is you have the image come back out, and if you're wanting to do that, there is a way, and it basically involves us popping back and forth between container and content container. So here we are. We're in content container. We're going to come down here to the image. All right. So this image, we are going to break it. We're going to close this section, and I know this will feel wonky, but you've got to close content container, which means that you now have to close main. I'm just curious about something. I'm curious. I want to try to do something that, typically speaking, I close it, and then and then I come back with, so we're gonna close. So this closes this div, then it closes main, and then we have to close main up here, which I know this is sending accessibility Shane nuts, but I'm trying to get to the design that you have. And then I come back in here and I say, instead of content container, I just say container, and that's got to be in quotes, Chris, which means it's not in quotes up here, which is also driving accessibility Shane nuts. Accessibility Shane, I gave you a new name. It's a good name to have, though. That's a solid name. Nickname. It's a nickname. It's not a name. It's a nickname. Anyway, then we come back with main. We close that again. Again, main. Yeah, accessibility Shane, grr. Come on, man. That's not bad. It's a good thing. I like people that are into accessibility. But you probably thinking it's like a slight. It's not. You just have different concerns. All right, so let's just see how much I broke here. Here we are. Let's tell a neighbor. Go down. Now you can see the image is coming out of the container, and then we come back in. The question is always like, how much of that do you want to do? It's like, you know, is that something that like drives you nuts? I want to come back to this though, because this gives me an idea of how to break out of those boundaries. But I don't want to, you know, we're spinning along. So essentially, we've come in, we're in again, and then we come down, and then we're back out. Okay, and if this is working correctly, we should be able to come down, and at a certain size, it will all, like, you know, now it's Now it should all be the same. Content container. Okay, so it is. Your image has a. I can see it. Your image. If we look over here, your image has some white to the left and right, which is causing it to measure in. It looks like it doesn't quite go edge to edge, but it does. So that's something to keep an eye on as you work through this. But I will push that up, and I'm going to push that up right now because I always forget to push things up. So Shane, we've got some questions up here. You need to sort out, like, do you want to do the in and out like you did before? I do think these are a bit large. So we could, do some adjustment there. Do you want to have this this hello neighbor on one line really a big thing? Again, I think where that really comes into play is when you get down here, you can leave it larger on the screen rather than having to worry about it coming, breaking. Because down here you got to get it really small. Now you can basically have it the same size all the way across. Like that size right there could be down here. So something to think about. Let's go ahead and push this up. Get status. Get add. Get commit. I do like the progress that you made overnight though, because we met midday yesterday, so you made a lot of progress in a short amount of time. Feedback loop updates. I'm not going to forget to push this one like I did Rebecca's yesterday. Git push origin master. And away it goes. All right, so let's save that. Save that. And let's get out of that one. Melanie is up next. And Melanie is was tasked with working on her avatar image and tasked with different navs. And she's got a couple different avatars here as well. And then, yes. Okay, so she's got a couple of notes for herself there as well. I'm going to go ahead and she's got a couple of code pins here. Let's look at these. I like sandboxing. If you haven't picked up on that, sandboxing always is helpful for me, mainly because I always tend to. Oh wait, that's weird. I tried two different methods, couldn't get either to work. Uses li/ul elements, wraps navbar in a header class, doesn't require JS. Uses menu icon that changes lines to an X. Uses media queries to hide and reveal elements, allowing for, okay, so let's take a look at this. Not that one. Let's take a look at this one. So it's a relatively short amount of code there. It's a lot of CSS, but not too much CSS. No, it's quite a bit of CSS. Okay, so that's the media query. Let's see what happens here. Okay, so at a certain size, I'm just trying to see how this is structured. So I see that go away. I'm guessing that this, okay, this becomes a nav, becomes a drop down. Oh, interesting. So they do a transform. So let's just work with this for a second. See how I broke the... I'm just interested in how they did the check mark because normally that's like an SVG. Yeah. Yep. Let's switch it over here. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm digging it. This is cool. Yeah. All right. So I'm just here breaking everything. I should just get that back to 40. No, that wasn't 145. This is 45. Okay. So one thing I like about pulling in and messing around with other people's code is I get to see different ways of doing it. I've never done the check mark to, or the hamburger menu to check mark thing. Here what it's doing is it's saying that it's transparent. So if I get rid of that, like you'll see okay, so this is the top line and the bottom line moving into an X, with the middle line becoming transparent. Okay. So, and that's triggered. So this is the button. So it says menu button display none. And then here it's going to say header menu icon display none. So if we come up, come back down, it's persistent too. That's nice. So do that. Okay. So I really like this. I like it because I like it you have to worry about people turning off JavaScript. And if somebody says there no JavaScript allowed, then your nav is broken. So Melanie, I really like this particular model. If I had to guess, you're probably running into broken issues related to like maybe the header class is maybe you've already used header. I just want to kind of look at your code now, and see if like how do we merge this in, and this is where I need to yeah, unfortunately I really should have created a Melanie folder like I had a Shane folder. I'll get that stuff moved around later though. So that's handy. I can tell this is hers. So let's spin this up. Let's go live. Oh, no, okay. So no, you're in portfolio. This is where I get lost with yours, Melanie, is I can't tell if we're in portfolio practice or if we're in portfolio. I think we're in portfolio practice. So I need to go to I think I need to be here. Melanie and I have to sort out where we're actually working at, and of course that's not going to work because it's a Gatsby project. So let's do Gatsby develop, and let's take a look at this. All right. So let's go ahead into localhost and see what we've got. Okay, this is weird. It's like, oh, okay, sorry. I'm so confused, and now I know why. Melanie has a side homepage. Yeah, okay, so I gotta yeah, it's actually over here in portfolio. She has a homepage copy that she was yep, there it is. Got it. Okay, got it. I'm right here with you. It just takes me all day sometimes to remember the little nuances. Okay, so you've got the nav bar here, and we're gonna go live so we can see it right now. Right now, Melanie does not have her nav bar in, and it's because I have hidden it. So we're going to find nav bar. So I've got nav bar display none. Okay. So if I pull that off, that should bring her nav bar back. It's just kind of hanging out over here. If you're looking at, this particular bit, you'll notice, okay, so they have a UL class menu, LIs, and then they have anchors, and that's all fine. Let's compare that to what you have to start with. So we'll come into homepage copy. So right now you have yours as divs, and that's not really right or wrong. It's just, it's not ideal. I would generally go with LIs. I did that yesterday with Shane's. So we will, we'll come in here and we'll go, work, about, resume, and let's get rid of this third one. Let's go ahead and I'm not going to worry about navbar link because I don't really think these are connected to anything at this point. There's certainly no style on them. I mean, if we look at them, here, there's no styling to them. So we're not losing anything there. I will pull over. I think it should just be hashtag empty work. About.html slash about.html, and then your link to your PDF and your target blank, which is important as well. So I'll just copy that whole thing. Replace careers. Okay, so that's got you basically in the structure of what they were providing already. I'm going to delete that away. We can obviously, we have a copy of all this, so it's not like I'm deleting everything away. Let's move it in. Melanie's got single spacing on here, so that's fine. So LIs, A's, yeah, all right. So that's all that. Let's come back over. Let's take a look at the code. This is a class of header. You've got this nav logo thing. I'm not really worried about nav logo. All that's saying is nav logo header. This is where we might come in and instead of saying nav bar, let's just say header. And really what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get this to a point where your content is basically replacing all of this. And if we look at it, as of right now, we could probably replace all of that with yours. And then, if you come out, it's interesting that the CSS nav goes away already, which is fine. We don't necessarily need that. So we'll delete that away. I'm going to delete all of this and just come back to header. So now we've got this, and if we come down here to resume, it's going to pop up. It's going to say bad path, but because it's not really linked to yours. We'll close that. I will copy this wholesale and bring it back. This is really just the menu. So let's come down here and let's get into your CSS. Okay, so none of that matters. That doesn't really matter. Header, this is just setting up with a 1. The position is fixed. This keeps it from moving around. You're going to scroll underneath it. Z index is set up to 3. The ULs, list style none, overflow hidden. That's all standard. This is, display block. If I said padding 40, it's gonna change nothing. It's probably because it's set to overflow none. Okay. Interesting. I just want to see what the border does when I. Okay, so the border did react. Oh, weird. Really wasn't what I was wanting to do, folks, but okay. Let's continue looking through here. LIAs, blocks. Oh, okay. It's just taking a minute. It's just kind of hanging. Hover. So I've got hovers on these. That's great. Header logo block. We don't have the logo, so let's just get rid of that. Let's make sure that nothing is happening there. All right, so here is, these are transitions. So header menu. So here's your menu. It's saying that it wants to ease in. Oh, that's okay. So it's wanting to ease in here. Oh, that's what I deleted. Okie doke. Let's come back over because I can't for the life of me remember where that was hidden at. Let's let's go ahead and pick that up. Again, not my code, so we are digging into somebody else's stuff here. Yeah, okay, so that was here. I had deleted that. Header LIA. Yeah, there it be. There's that. And that should give you to get the same rollover that you have here. It's just working in a different direction. Menu header both. Ease out. So that's the easing that's happening there. It's focused on max height. If you take max height out of this, you'll find that it just it doesn't break at all. Oh, maybe it's because I didn't save it yet. So the pointer icon comes into play. Float right. That adjust where it's at. Navicon. Navicon is right here. So that's a span. So that is basically, if we take this transition out here, it should just automatically didn't do what I was expecting it to do there. One of these is going to, see, like the gentle transition goes away when we pull out that transition right there. So this is Navicon before, Navicon after. It's wanting to, it's really altering the transition there. The top, I'm curious, and this is what I always do. Okay, so you can see, like, when you take that out, that gets rid of the top bar. This is probably going to get rid of the bottom bar. Yep. So essentially, we have one element, and I believe that these are basically in here together. And here's your, that's how you put something before or after with the content is blank. Transparent, rotate. Okay. And then you've got your responsive down here. So this is what I typically do when I'm looking at code that I didn't write. I'm trying to understand exactly what it's doing. So like here you have header, menu icon, navicon. If I take the height out, all three of those go away. So this is basically just a little. It's actually three little lines. It's not actually an icon at all. It's just three little lines in CSS, and then these are being positioned. Yeah, these are being positioned with there's a before and after. So that says, okay, take one, move it up, take one, move it down. So yeah, this all makes sense now. And now I'm not so concerned with just bringing it all over now that I know what's here. That's the real trick though. You got to know what's here, and you got to be able to like look at it and pull it apart. So when I copy this over, you know, I've got basically all the same things that I had before. The only real unique thing you're picking up here is the way that they drew that up. So now we'll come over to your code. I'm going to put this in. I'm going to do something a little different here. I'm gonna make a CSS here just so we can like get into it and specifically not be jumping around. I'm gonna create a new file. I'm gonna call it nav.css. So here's nav.css. I'm gonna drop that in there. We've tested all of this. We know what it does. Now I just have to call it in. So, you know, and this is basically how I would make it if it was a component. I would, you know, I'm going to pull in your systems.css. I'm going to pull in your nav.css. If I was making this as a component, it would just be self-contained within the component. And again, I talked with Melanie yesterday. That's basically what we're going to be doing. We're going to build out her page here, and then we're going to take it in the Gatsby and break it all apart. But let's see what we've got here on Melanie's site. So there it is, and there's a little space to the top. It's fixed, okay? So like when something's fixed, it's going to stick to the top. The question here is, can we get it to give us the fun little crisscrossy thing? And it's there. Yeah. Okay. So now what we've got to do, now that that's in here, Melanie, is we need to adjust this, you know, and let's just inspect that here. So here is your header, and your header is position fixed. So you can see what happens, like poop, it's all brokey now. Typically what I do in these instances is I do like margin top. Goodness. Come on, Chris. Margin top minus 20 pixels or minus 10 pixels. I can't see if that's right, so I'm just going to change this to like red. Okay, so it's clearly not right. There. So now it's -16, all right? And you're like, okay, great, Chris, that totally is hacky. And now you've got the drop down here. You're not going to keep it red. Don't worry. That's not the point. Point is, header needs to have a negative margin on it because it's fixed. And because it's fixed, there's likely some bit of issue in there that I haven't identified yet. But we'll do margin top because I'm margin top minus 16 pixels. If you're on a grid of 8, you could do -2 rems, but I know we haven't covered that yet. So there's that. From there, though, we now need to come back and look at the section. So here's your hero container. And now to the top, I need margin top. And I'm going to say just like 40 pixels. That was weird. That isn't what I wanted. Why would you do that? Margin top 50 pixels. Okay, so it's moving that whole thing down. That's not what I want. Typically I just grab the section. Let's just do padding top. Yeah, padding will work. Oh, and I think I know why. So padding top. If I do padding top and I do 80, there we go. It comes down in size. We still got to figure out like the shape of the avatar that you have there. Here's this. So let's go ahead and add that to hero container. Home page. Find hero. Oh, there's hero container right there. So we're going to come in here and say, and you can see we used grid template areas. That's a CSS grid. I typically draw things in like 1FR, 2FR, and that's still here, but grid template areas allows us to flip a few things around. So we'll do padding top 80 pixels. Come back and refresh, and there we are. And then you come back and you've got this, and it comes down, and yeah. Yay! So responsive navbar. Mel, I still want to see like let's figure out what we're doing here on the icon. When we get into handy, like we still need to turn our attention to handy. But we've got the nav here sorted out, I believe. And again, you were asking mainly for like this or that. I'm saying this. You can style this up and get rid of the like bottom fadey and whatnot. Whatever you'd like to do. But like provided that you can open up code and read it and make sense of what's happening with it, I think you can use it. If I couldn't figure out how this was getting built, I wouldn't want to use it. But now that I know what's happening with it, I think it's fine. So, we'll come back in and we'll tweak this more. But I'm going for now. I'm going to go ahead and push this up. So we'll say get status, get add, get commit -m, update nav from feedback loop. Oh, Chris, you got to put a quote on that. Get push origin master, and remote contains work you do not have locally. Oh no. Get pull origin master, and I bet I forgot to pull, and yeah, now I've got conflicts. Oh God. Okay. I got ahead of myself. And this is going to be a little painful, but this is good. So Melanie's got changes to her homepage. Let's go through here and find out where the conflicts are at. So incoming change. So basically we were working in the same area. Current change, incoming change. I'm going to accept current change. All right. And we should be able to come down through here and see where the other errors are, if there is any. All right, so that's fine. Let's go into, there shouldn't be anything on nav CSS because we created that from scratch. so we'll leave that alone. Let's come to systems. We have current change, and this is nav links, nav button, hover. I'm going to go ahead and accept current change. All right. And let's see, what other issues do we have? Stage changes. Okay, so she's made some. Okay. All right. So boy, I totally messed that up, didn't I? Let's go ahead and look at this. Let's see how much I broke. All right. So the nav is busted. That's busted. Let's take a peek here at homepage. Hello, header. Typically speaking, when I come through a file, it's really easy for me to see where something has busted. And it would appear that, like, when I look at her page, it's telling me that something's busted pretty high up. For some reason, I'm not seeing it. Section. Okay, so section head. Yeah, okay, I see it above header, but I don't see it on... am I on... Yeah, that's homepage copy. Okay. Boy, what happened? Something got blown up here. Oh, it's because it's in main container. Okay, so this section can't be in main container. Alright, so that brings that back. Now we gotta figure out what happened to your design down here. We had this working last night. So, and we had it working up until a few minutes ago. So, what the hell happened here? There's hero container. And wow, holy crap. It's at here's hero container. Okay, grid template is there. It's not a grid item. What? What happened to display grid? Oh, weird. Display grid somehow got blown off of that. So hero container. Oh, it's right there. What is it talking about? Display grid is right there. Is it mad that I didn't continue having it down here? Good Lord. All right, so main container, that's fine. Why is the body of this starting so low? Got it. No, I don't have it. Margin top 100. The hell? Okay. All right. So minor hiccup there. Got it sorted. Just took me forever. Sorry about that. I've got to learn to pull before I start doing work. So get status, get add, get commit, merge conflict, fix, get push origin master. Toodles. All right, Rebecca wrapping things up here today. It's nice though, Melanie. I appreciate you doing little legwork there, finding us some code to work with and kind of gnaw into. So let's check out Rebecca's project. Let's come over here to. Nope, that's not what we want. So padding to the top of some of the images so they line up like the text with the text like in Figma. Okay, so you haven't worked on the code yet because you've been doing some other work, which is fine. Wanted to know how I can add padding to the top of some of the images so they line up with the text like in Figma, and work on getting the page responsive so I can give it live. Okay, so let's come over back to VS Code. Back up. All right, so let's come to Silicandy. All right. One question I have is, what's the size of these images? We could come in and say for this class of product and give it a specific size. So max height, whatever. Let's go live with it. Let's take a peek. You also said that's not responsive, and that's my bigger concern right now. So if we come down, sure enough, it's not. This is honestly where we're going to need to make some decisions on how these sections reorder themselves. So for instance, let's start with Silicandy. So pink back. All right. Pink back has padding of 20%. We've got this to-call design though. This is actually really easy. If I just write a media query that makes this one FR, and then we look at the Silicontainer, and we say that the padding is 5. Suddenly, this is a lot more responsive. Now, you still have to determine what you're doing with these images, because these images now are going to get large. I think going 2 columns with like the logo thing is fine, although you could also come in and let's come down here. Okay, so here's Silicontainer logo, and when you get down here to logo, you know, you've got, well, that's the business. I've overshot it, I think. Okay, so nope, nope, nope. Oh, the business is up there. Now we come down to, so here's to call right. If you change this to 1FR, you have this issue, which is going to require you to look at the width of the image and go, okay, maybe that should be like 50 or 40, whatever. You also have the issue where there's all the space off to the side, right? All the space off to the side, all the space off to the side, all the space off to the side. I'm not really sure. I'm going to refresh this really fast. I'm not really sure why we have all the space off to the side. I would encourage you to always have your images sized pretty much, limit it to the size of the element itself, unless you have a background that's going to make it all the same size. So this is where you have to be looking ahead to thinking that, oh, the design is going to change. Here the design is going to change, and when that design changes, are you set up to take advantage of it? But what I'm going to do to start is I'm gonna adjust this Silicandy. I'm gonna write media queries for the Silicandy intro, because it really all starts with the intro. We'll look at Silicandy, Silicontainer, and to call left. Okay, and we'll go from there. So let's get back into your code. So we'll say style Silicandy. That must not be it. Let's take a look at Silicandy. Sorry, Silicontainer. And I believe that's in styles. So Silicontainer. Nope, it's got to be in grid. Okay, so this is where we need to come through with a media query. So down here you have media queries already. So let's go ahead and copy this. We'll come down here to container. I'm going to change this to something that is, if you get this, I don't know, it's like you've got padding on it already. Okay. You can't have width and then percentage together. We've got padding here, flow container there. Like, which one am I looking at? Okay, I'm just gonna focus on Silicontainer and to call left. Yes, Silicontainer. Let's go ahead and adjust it here. Silicontainer. I'm just gonna say 5 view width on each side. Save it. Okay, so now it's going all the way to the edge. is in a negative spot. Why? Two call left, hero text. So let's fix two call left first. It says it is fixed. Okay, so this is going over. Why is it going over? I don't want a Kindle Fire. No one ever is going to look at that on a Kindle Fire. Grid gap. Display grid. Yeah. 1FR margin top 300. Scylla container. Let's do 100%. Oh, sorry, that's padding. Jesus Christ. Okay. There's so much weirdness happening here. Why? Yeah, that's fine. Something really wrong with this. Let's take a look at how it's constructed. Okay, so that's fine. Scylla container. What? It's like it has negative width on it. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with this. I'm just not fine with the fact that... Okay. So if we get rid of grid template columns, if we just say grid template columns is 1FR for two call left, and then we're going to say Scylla container. Okay. That may be that. Okay, so two call left. We need to adjust that to 1FR first. So two call left, 1FR. That's already there. I think the Scylla container is probably the bigger issue. Dot Scylla container with 100%. Two call left has got to kick into grid template columns. Okay, so Mm. It's as if it's not picking up. Oh, are we missing a viewport? No, you've got a viewport. Okay. So um it's the vertical width thing again. I just want to get rid of it. Okay. So vertical width can, or viewport width rather, that can be there, but at some point we're going to get rid of that. And I don't know if that is here, and everything under 800 becomes that. But if it does that, then we need this to kick in as well. Unfortunately, Silicontainer actually needs like two. Come on. Okay. So that works. We need this grid template column. I think this grid template column needs to kick down sooner. Yeah, I hate that. I'm gonna change this to 600 because it gets real skinny on tablets, and then it's fine on mobile. But I would rather adjust it on mobile. I'd rather adjust it on, like, okay, so it's just a little big on tablets, than allowing it to just completely be broken. But the good news is this is progressively enhancing itself now. We probably still need to come in and, oh yeah, we definitely got to come in and fix this. This is what I was talking about yesterday. But of course you were working on other things. So we need to adjust the width of this background image. So Scilla image with 100%. Yeah, and that locks it down. And then this gets bigger as you come up. Yeah, okay, so Scilla hero image. Where did it go? Oh, it's over here in style. Yeah, so we'll do width 100%, so that maintains the width that you're looking for here, but it also comes down as you get smaller. Yeah, Yeah, I think we need to do some editing on these images so that they align. Even if we have to come in here and add some padding, that's fine. Um, you were asking, you were saying about lining up with logos, and I'm not really sure like where the text is that you're wanting to line up with down here. So I think I'm going to have to punt on that until we have our call. But otherwise, once we adjust down, this is now, goes down to here. It's now responsive. So, you're into the responsive territory already because we had that media query. We had that media query written previously. So I will look to cover this in greater detail with you because I know we have a call coming up. So I'm just not sure what other text you're talking about lining up with because these two line up already. Okay. All right. Super long feedback loop today. Before I lose those changes, I'm going to go ahead and push those up for Rebecca as well. Get status. Get add. Get commit -m updates from feedback loop. Get push origin master. And with that, we are wrapping it up. Chris Courtney here, feedback loop, special nearly 2-hour edition of it. Well, we got 3 portfolios going. What am I going to do? You got 3 portfolios going. I look forward to talking with all of you on Thanksgiving Eve tomorrow. Talk then. Take care.